touch with any of us. So we'll be very happy to support you in future, whatever way we can. Electric services.
Dr. Buko? Dr. Buko, please. Dr. Buko, please go ahead and start.
Good morning. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night, based on where you're coming from. And welcome to the first session of Qualitative Research Connect, QLRC. My name is Genevieve Buko, and I am the Dean of the School of Distance Education at the University of the Southern Caribbean and the Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, one of the 51 countries that will be represented by our over 1,000 participants today. This is an awesome start as we kick off QLRC with a webinar on qualitative data coding and an opportunity to meet the team. Welcome to this historical hour of the beginning of an edifying community of qualitative research practitioners. It's awesome to have you here. So, I have 3 minutes to welcome everyone, and I didn't want to do it by myself, so I want to give you the opportunity now to use the chat and welcome each other. So in Trinidad, we call this a shout out. I'm not sure how global the phrase is, but in Trinidad, we call it a shout out. It's a positive greeting to someone you may or may not have met. So please take the next 30 seconds to a minute to greet someone in the chat. So you could say general greetings, but also look for names and greet persons specifically and help us to help Trinidad represented. Very good. I see Ayana Antoine. Welcome. Another colleague from Trinidad. So please take the opportunity to welcome each other and let us have a really edifying time here today. Thank you so very much. I'll also be in the chat welcoming everyone.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Bukod, for that very warm welcome to each and everyone. This is Dr. Ariel Ramos, a full professor in the Graduate School of Cebu Technological University, a member of the Asian Qualitative Research Association, definitely an advocate of qualitative research. So this particular activity, ladies and gentlemen, we are very honored to be joined by Dr. Ranjit Kingston Gladstone, our speaker. He is from India, an assistant professor and director of short-term certificate courses at Spicer Adventist University. Ranjit, or we can call him Dr. Gladstone, earned his PhD in education. He has master's degrees in education, sociology, social work, and psychotherapy and counseling, postgraduate diplomas in clinical psychology and research methodology. With more than 2 decades of teaching experience in India, in the Philippines, Cambodia, Kenya, and the United States, he has a very wealthy experience in this particular topic. So ladies and gentlemen, let us all welcome with the resounding virtual applause our speaker for this particular webinar. Let's give it up to Dr. Ranjit Kingston Gladstone.
Thank you. I would like to share my screen at the moment. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hope I am audible to all of you. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Safar for giving me an opportunity to share one of a very interesting topic that everybody as qualitative researchers we dwell into. That's about coding. Well, to start with, what is coding, but where does coding occur in the qualitative data? So what is a qualitative data? As you see on the screen, it says qualitative data is the type of information. It describes the quality or characteristics rather than number or measurement. Now, this definition itself takes us away from the quantitative part, and it helps us move further into see what are the different sources of this qualitative data, because that would help us also to see where this coding is done. As you look up on the screen, there are 8, not just limited to 8, but I have listed down 8 areas through which we get our qualitative data analysis. And I'm not going to, but I'll move on because we need to want to understand about qualitative data management before even considering doing coding. So here, for our qualitative data management, I would like to talk to you about the triple crown of research ethics, the Belmont report. This Belmont report has been highly considered in clinical researchers. However, this is also an important highlighter of data management, even for qualitative data. Built on 3 important areas, that's why it's called as triple crown. One of the writer mentions in her article, says that she wished to mention it as triple crown because it refers to something similar to a horse race, where they need to win, the jockey along with the horse has to win 3 different major race at a limited point of time. However, we much into the analogy, looking into the points over here, we see crowns of data management is basically, it covers the ethical part of it. Number 1 is about respect for persons. The second one is beneficence, and the third one is justice. Now, as we look into the history of ethics of data, qualitative data, or any other research data or clinical data, we see that after the end of Second World War, this was identified, and they identified that there were many researches or trials conducted without proper ethical guidelines. So therefore, one of the paper written by Miracle in 2016 talks about the history of it, and it says how to move further to look into the data in terms of ethical, consideration. Nuremberg Code in 1947, they identified there are huge number of people who are not given even consent use their data for their research. Now, with that, then later on Helsinki, and lastly the Belmont in 1979, I would like to emphasize for each one of us to understand, before even considering to code our qualitative data, we need to be very careful about the management of our data. That is basically the ethical guidelines. So the 3 areas are respect for persons. And when you say respect for persons, here it means people are, the people who are participating in our research should be given enough chances or privilege to give their own consent that their data should be considered for our research and our data analysis. And also it has a second part, especially if we are dealing with some vulnerable agents to be our data, then they may not be able to do it by themselves, but we need to understand and we need to consider their beingness as a part of data, and we need to respect them, and that is the first part of it. And the second part is about beneficence. And beneficence is about considering not to do any harm to our respondents or one who is giving us the data. We need to consider all means and ways not to harm them. And also, you have to let them know the potential benefits their data can give for the study. And also, you need to address how it decreases the events of harm. And this is considered by IRB, or we call it Institutional Review Board, which will look into that. And lastly, justice. Equal treatment and fairness of all respondents should be considered during the collection of data from these people. Now, we have looked into the Belmont report on these three major areas. By doing so, we have collected the data, we have maintained the integrity, and we have maintained these three important pillars of ethics. And here, what do we do further? First is we get into coding. And as we all know, most of us as qualitative researchers, what is coding? Now, Johnny Saldana, one of the greatest expert, who is also a great proponent behind coding, has mentioned a code in qualitative inquiry is a word or a short phrase that symbolically assigns a summative, salient, essence capturing, or evocative attribute for a portion of language based or the visual data. So a qualitative researcher, when he is going to analyze the data, almost thing, he is going to look into the data and starts coding. And as I have mentioned, coding is a word or phrase that you will assign for your data. As you look into it, all of us as qualitative researchers, we do not have a same dictionary or same set that we may use. So we may ask, where is it that we can have the same kind of words being mentioned for our coding? Now, it all depends upon every individual researcher, because you are the instrument of your study. You are conducting the study and you have the research questions that guides you to look into the data and use the appropriate vocabulary for codes for the data that. Now, every data has its own angle. Every data could be seen through different filters. And also every data can have different angles. Now, when I say it has lenses, it has filters, and when it has angles, what does that mean? You know, when you consider following your data from a certain philosophical paradigm, you set an angle in which you are looking at your data. It differs from the way you look at your data. And lenses refers to gender, social class, racial ethnicity of your participants. And this is according to Johnny Saldana, that these are the areas which are considered to be the lenses that you can wear on when you look at the data in a particular angle. Last but not the least is the filter. The filter is about the question that you have structured for your interview or for your focus group discussion or any other means of collecting data. So this filters would help you also to see in the right way to look at the data and make your coding. Now, again, you need to understand coding is heuristic. Heuristic comes from a Greek word to discover. So these are not just labeling. These are not just labeling something that you look at and something that you think, oh, this is a word that could represent it. No, label is coding is a linking phenomenon. It discovers the essence, the juice from your transcript to the question that you have already structured and used for collecting the data. So therefore, it is directing, the codes are directing towards what you're looking for in the data. Now, you must have seen, if you have not seen, the book, Qualitative Researchers, it is available very much online, and people have gone up to buying the first edition of 2025, or the older editions are available free online, the PDF. And if you could see into it, not of much differences with the version, but anyways, most of the content are the same for the earlier editions too. It clearly talks about how coding could be done for different approaches, for different attributes, for different type of qualitative research that you are doing. And if you look at it very carefully, there are more than 30 types of coding that you could do. But remember, it's not necessarily for you to do all types of coding in a single research. Even if you look at the glossary B in that particular book, it talks about qualitative research method. What could you do? You know, what all the different coding you could do. Now, also, it talks about there are two sets of coding. One is the first cycle of coding, and there is a second cycle of coding. Now, you may be wondering, what is a cycle of coding? This is, as a researcher, when you look into the data, you find yourself that there are, earlier codes that you'll be mentioning all across your transcript. And once you're done with earlier codes, you could be called as pre-coders too. But after doing the pre-coding, you can also do your first coding. It all depends upon what is your approach, what is your filter, what is your angle, what is your lens. And you make all the codes. And once you're done with it, and you will come again to look into seeing the commonalities in your codes that you are seeing, not necessarily to make it into categories, but also seeing some type of essence that are appearing out of your codes. And there are 6 types of second cycle of coding that also you could use it. And further, it could be also leading into categories. And these categories could also further lead into your concepts or themes that you could develop out of it based on the type of qualitative research you do. Now, this could be done manually in a code book. You create a code book by having the data in one side and start coding it. You can use different types of coding. As I said, color coding, drawing it, writing it, mind mapping. There are different ways of doing it. However, we also are exposed today with computer-assisted softwares for qualitative data. But before going into that, let me talk about even solo and team coding. Now, as an individual researcher, you also do solo coding, and also you invite the members of your group or invite some experts to look into your coding or look into and work as a team into coding and come up with something much more than what you are looking at by its nature. Now, these are some of the top qualitative data analysis software that you could find in the market, and not all are considered to be the best. And every software has its own challenges too. But NVivo stands out to be the best among all. By the way, I'm not promoting any one of it, but I would say that these are all softwares that would help you to do the coding. Remember, softwares can help you do your coding and organization and all those things. But remember, these softwares cannot analyze the data for you. They can only help you organize and get you towards analysis, but eventually the analysis has to be done by you. I know there will be a lot of disagreements with it that we can talk about, but you need to understand human being as a researcher needs to be given the highest priority when we ourselves are the instrument in our research. Now, an example transcript is given over here about studying about the experience with mentorship program, and you could see about the interviewer and the participants. Now, there are a little bit of color coding I did for you to see and how that could be transferred into the coding book. Now, you see, overall, I found the program really beneficial and use code them as support. Likewise, you can see the other course, and later on, you look into the categories and then you identify a theme out of it. Now, this is how we do the coding, and you need to understand researcher has a final say.
Excuse me, Dr. Ranjit. Can you go back to the previous slide and spend a few minutes with that, because this is
okay. Sure. I'm thinking of a time content. Okay, but I'll still go on to that. I think I'm within the time. Okay, so here, if you see the transcript excerpt here, I have pulled out some of the excerpts from the previous sample transcript. You could see over here, can you describe your experience with the mentorship program? Here it said, overall, I found the program really is beneficial. My mentors are very supportive. Now, the same thing, if I take you to the next slide, you see over here, I have pulled out the quote from that transcript, and I have put over there, and I have given a code for a phrase or a statement. And sometimes in this, you could see all my codings are given to the essence of a phrase. It is not necessarily every time it happens in the same way. We can do is in vivo coding, where we give exactly pick up words from the transcript itself as codes. Sometimes we give an alternative word for a word in the transcript itself. So there are various ways of doing these codes. And further, these codes could be grouped into categories. And then further, categories could lead into the themes that would answer the questions, the research questions that you have built on in your qualitative research. All right. So you could also see further transcript. I felt comfortable sharing my concerns with them, though I struggle with communication. Now, these are some of the things that are being answered, okay, to your research questions from the previous transcript that you see. Now, this is your transcript. Now, if I have to explain to you, if you want to do manually, you can always have your document handwritten, but it will be more hectic for handwritten ones. But you can have it in your computer, all your data being pasted, and then you can do color coding. Then you can make a table and use it over there in a basic level. Of course, this is also helped out by the computer softwares that would help you do all this work. You feed them with, this is your definition for a particular code. It will run down through the data and it will identify and collect the codes for you. Now, as I said before, that's the work of the software. It does follow your instruction. It just follow your guideline, what to be done. But eventually, the analysis, which requires your ideas to be put into, is not going to be completely learned by machine to do what it needs to do. Okay. In the present generation, we also have Qualitative. After the introduction of ChatGPT in November 2023, it started with many different artificial intelligence products, and it also has come up with Qualitative, where you can do your qualitative coding just by giving the transcript to the Qualitative. However, it has its own limitation. Again, it is not greater than any other software that is available in the market, but it also uses different prompts that you are going to give the Qualitative. And secondly, you should understand artificial intelligence works with the neural language, the program, the NLP, and which also will learn your style of looking at it. But still, it is better than using software, but it cannot still further give you exactly what needs to be found from the transcript. Therefore, when you're making your code book, which is very essential for your research, if you're doing it for your thesis or dissertation, this should be part of your, the part of your dissertation to show how you did it, the code book. But for other researchers, it need not necessarily show it. However, this is how you should be doing it and moving further to find what you need to find as themes that is going to come out of your data by the analysis that you're going to do from the research. Dr. Safari, how many minutes do I have?
1 minute.
1 minute. Okay. Now, as I have mentioned to you before, there are more than 30 different codes that you could use. It is not necessarily you have to use for every research 4 to 5 different types of codes, but you could use at least 2 or 3 sometimes to the maximum. If you have more angles being set for you to look into your data, because that is going to help you thoroughly look into your data. And especially when you have a rich data, it's going to give you a lot of perspectives. But again, let me tell you, Saldana is referring to many other authors, including Creswell, who says for particular qualitative research, we should not have anything more than, 6 to, so it says in page number 25, it says minimum to keep our analysis coherent. There is no standardized or magic number to achieve. Lichtman is 5 to 7 central concepts. Creswell says 5 to 6 major themes. And the anthropologist Harry Wolcott says we can have up to 3 major themes. So what it says is that you don't have to have thousands and thousands of quotes from your transcript and come up with hundreds and hundreds of categories and 10s and 20s or 30s of themes. It will not make sense for your research because the analysis will not be coherent. So in order to keep your analysis coherent, our proponents on coding is guiding us and telling us to make it very simple, direct to the point, narrow it down, have it very few themes or concepts to develop out of our coding that develops into categories and then into themes and concepts. I think that is what I have to say. Researcher has a, though the software can be of good use, coding is a process that leads to analysis and not by itself. There is no magic number for anything. And eventually be an expert in your area that would help you look into your coding, your data, and make appropriate codes and come up with appropriate themes that would help your research questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ranchith, for that very powerful presentation. Yes, it is. It is always exciting to see how data comes together through coding and then on to data analysis, which will be the next webinar that we're going to have through weeks from today. At this point, I'm going to invite a good friend of mine to introduce something very special for us because we have been growing a lot. And it looks like we have a lot of resources that we want to continually share with you. And it was becoming hard to send that by email or just posting it on our Facebook. So we have a website that has been designed for us. And it is also a great privilege for me to let you know that we are now legal as an organization today. And so to help us understand what is happening and how you can know more about Qualitative Research Connect or QLRC, as we call it, I'm going to invite Mr. Edwardson Pedragosa, who is an IT manager of Heartland Institute of Health and Education in Virginia here in the United States. He's the one who prepared the website. Sir Edwardson, it is your time. Please share with us how this works. And the website is now in the chat area if you want to follow along.
Good morning, good evening, everyone, wherever you are. Thank you, Dr. Safari, for inviting me to present this website. Actually, most of the work was done by Dr. Safari. I'm just his, assistant, and it's made possible by his hard work. And of course, nothing comes to light without, collaboration with each other. That's why you guys are here. You're collaborating, helping each other. And I'm excited about this website because there's so much information in here. Um, my wife's research was a qualitative research, and I said, "Wow, this website will be valuable for you." And there's a lot of resources in here, books that are on sale. You can grab it, and it's not pricey. Also, it's there's lots of information on the website. So here's the website. Um, it's called QLRconnect.com, and it has been live, and officially today is it's going to be live. And actually, before coming here to the meeting, I was telling Dr. Safari, well, we have a good problem. I cannot join the meeting. I'm surprised there's so many people in here. And that means there's so many researchers, qualitative researchers, interested people in this topic. So it's a good problem. It's a good problem. And with many people joining, you need resources. And QLR Connect will be we hope and pray that they'll become a center for resources for you guys. And we have, of course, we have the what is our goal, what is our main is right here on the web page. What we do on the website, and of course, our advisory board is all there listed on the homepage so that we can show that this website is credible. I was reading all your description sent by Dr. Safari. It's like, wow, these guys are professional. These guys are experts in their field. And some of them I know, some of them I don't know. Um, yeah, but I see your profile and like, okay, this is going to be a great site for people to visit and to be a member, to be part of this community. We also have testimonials. You have data right there. And let's see, let's go to the most important part. So if you want to be part of, I mean, we would like to invite you to be part of this community. We have two services. We can offer membership, right? And so we can click the membership right there. Um, and the price is not bad. The price is not bad. $30 a year for silver membership with all those options. Well, I say you go for platinum. It's lifetime. It's cheap. Yeah. So just join now. One caveat though is that we are working on the payment system. This should be available in 24 hours. We're working hard to make it run because there's some tiny glitch on it with regards to the payment processor, but it should be working within 24 hours. So, but yeah, you can see there the membership levels, silver, gold, and platinum. We also have, if you have clients who would like to do consultation, they can sign up for, a time slot. They can register here, fill up this form, and we can set the time for them so that we can do online or maybe even personal consultation with them. Um, Last one here. Oh, sorry, the second to the last one is the resources. So in the resources, we have bookstore. Let me just show that one. This bookstore is actually just is linking to Amazon. Amazon is a nice platform, but there's so many resources in there. We don't want our clients to be, wasting time looking for those resources. We would like to look for those resources for them, put it on our website, click the link, and then they can buy it. Right? So we have a lot of resources there, books for sale. So they just click that book, and then it leads them to the Amazon page. So yeah, a lot of books already. Okay. And also we will publish free books that we will find, not copyrighted, we call it copyleft books that we can possibly offer to our community. And also we have journals. If you know journals that we can share with the community, we will be listing them down here. We can list as many as we want. This one, there's a feature where we can search for the topics titles. For example, let's say ethnography. It will show those topics right there, and then click it, and it will take you to the journal where it's supposed to show. Last one here is the videos. This one is nice. I was telling my wife about this. These presentations here are very, very nice. Let's just load it. There's a bunch of videos there. So hang on. Okay, there you go. And I think some of you may have seen this already, even before launch. So there are videos right there, and I think, wow, those are nice interviews. That I watched some of them. They're nice insights. Yeah, but we will be filling this one with videos. We will, of course, if you see that we need things to improve, we will. Okay, comments and feedbacks are welcome. This is for the good of the community. So please send us comments and suggestions if you have those. Okay. And I think the last one is news, anything related to qualitative research or activities. We'll be posting them on the news page. Okay. And you can click those posts and give you more information. Okay. We have announcements for the conference already this coming year, this coming September. And also, both of them are in September. The first Qualitative Research Institute and also the first Global Conference this coming September. One important thing here, and last but not the least, is if I would like for you to join our newsletter. So when you first come to the website, there will be a pop-up on the lower left. And if you can, please subscribe to our newsletter. It helps us, grow our community. Okay, so I think it will be here. Let's see if it will show up. Okay, I already clicked it. That's why it will not show up. But if you visit this website, it will show up on the lower left of the page. And we do have translation for the languages. This is automatic translation, by the way. In the future, hopefully, we can work on translations manually. Yeah, but this one works for characters. It's good translations. Let's say 90%. If you think that it's not, let us know, and we'll work on it. We'll work on this website to be better. That's what research is, right? We make things better by researching on stuff. I've seen a lot of researches being improved over and over again, and so that's what it is. So the same is true with website. If you see that if we see that something needs to be improved, we will improve, or else this website will die. Yeah, we will not let it die. We will make sure that it will grow, and it will become a big community. Just like this session this morning, I'm really surprised. Wow, almost 300 people in this session. I was thinking maybe only the people who are presenting or those who are in the page. But when I log in, I was trying to log in. I said, Miss Dr. Safari, I cannot join. It says it's full capacity. And I told him, "Hey, this is a good problem. This is a good problem because we have many people who are interested in research." So that's about it for the website. Again, if you have comments, feedbacks, or suggestion, please feel free to contact us. There's a form at the bottom. Oh, sorry, my pen is working. And right here, subscribe to us, and then you can go to the contact us page to give us feedback or comments. Thank you very much, Dr. Safari.
Thank you very much, Sir Edwardson. It's been a real pleasure working with you, putting this together. Thank you so much. I think we need to put a round of applause to him digitally because I think he has done a fantastic job. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I look forward to continuing working with you as we improve this website. At this time, we are going to now take questions. I'm going to give the program back to Dr. Ramos, who is our moderator. He's going to take about 18 minutes for questions, and then Dr. Maria will give us the closing remarks after that. Dr. Ramos?
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Safari, Sir Edward, for giving us the background of the website. Now we go back to the discussion given earlier by Dr. Ranjit. Perhaps if you have some questions, you could write them down in the chat box. But for now, I'd like to ask Dr. Ranjit, first, what drew your interest to qualitative research? Dr. Ranjit.
Well, research done scientifically with other approaches could give you a very succinct detail of what it is and what it is not. But it fails for me to understand why it is so. So a descriptive essence is many times missed out when we look at certain research approaches. Therefore, qualitative research is an approach I found that it dwells into the details of why it is certain things in a way it is. And again, it is not generalized. And if you look at research done in a specific area, it gives you the essence of that particular area in a very clear way. And that is why I think qualitative research should be one of the best area of research interest, though I am not limited to it.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Ranjit. I understand that qualitative research is fun, at the same time very challenging, and more particularly on the coding aspect, Dr. Ranjit. And I understand that you have met a lot of challenges in the coding. Perhaps you could also tell us what are the common challenges that you've met. And there's a question here from Burns also. What are the steps, or are there steps to ensure transparency and rigor in the coding process?
Okay, thanks for the question. Now, transparency and rigor. Now, when you talk about transparency, it is about bracketing mostly that you keep your bias away of who you are personally, because that you are going to mention it in your paper itself, in a area that what you are and what you are not using into your research area. When you as a qualitative researcher trying to find out a data, especially using a social constructivist theory, we are completely allowing yourself out of the data to look into the data. And when you do that, you are setting a limit for yourself. However, the literature or the wisdom that is right up in front of you guide the direction in which you need to code the data for you to be directed towards what you need to find. And again, when it talks about rigor, it is like having a journal being peer reviewed or double peer reviewed. Have an expert, you can have a peer who will also look into your data, who is of your same interest, and find out the coding that you have missed out. Many times we think what we see is what it is, but not necessarily true. And even different experts who can look into it, or a team, a team coding could be done that would help the rigor of your coding for your data analysis.
So basically, there are several steps that we could accommodate to make sure the credibility of the paper is there, right, Dr. Ranjit?
Yes, that's right.
All right. Okay. A follow-up question, I think, also coming from Burns. He would like to ask how will coded data be presented in the research findings perhaps after these are processed. So maybe you could give us a picture on how this coded data will be presented.
Usually, the coded data. Okay, usually our coded data is not presented during conferences and others. However, these coded data are presented with theses and dissertations to justify the work that you have done. Now, again, sometimes the whole code book is not being presented whenever you present it online, or I mean, whenever you present it in any platform. If I have understood the question correctly, it is how to show how you have done your coding, right? Okay. Now, usually, you will show how it has gone from one step to another in a tabular form. Sometimes you show these other codes which has further developed into categories or subcategories, then further developed into themes or concepts that leads into a development of an existing theory or a theory by itself. So that directional concept or a table could show the audience how coding is being done. And I believe it is not necessarily to show exactly the code book in a journal paper. I don't think anyone would appreciate having certain number of pages would be added to the paper.
All right. So I believe you're telling us, Dr. Ranjit, that when we process our raw data coming from the interview, from the transcript itself, there
Yeah.
are possibilities to do that. It could be deductively and inductively, right?
That's right.
Okay. So if that is the case, Dr. Ranjit, a follow-up question is between deductive and inductive coding, which one aligns best for qualitative research?
Now, again, it all depends upon which data you are looking into. Now, certain times, if you are looking into, a large amount of data which are not answers to your research question or not answers to your interview question, for example, document analysis, okay, for that, you use an approach which is not the same as what you do it for the data that you have acquired from your interview, your focus group discussion, your observation. Why? These are data that you observed in a certain area, and these are data focusing towards the answer that you are looking for. But in document analysis, it is a wide variety of data from which you need to narrow down. So that is where the deductive and inductive approach differs. And that makes your decision, your data tells you how to move into it. Sometimes
Correct.
you may use both while you are going with different types of data for the very same research approach.
All right. Because at the very end, it is all about answering the research questions we posted
That's right.
earlier. All
Yeah.
right. So with your experience in guiding students in their thesis and their researches, Dr. Ranjit, there's a question here from Ayana. She would like to know what is the best way to ensure data collected to make sure that these are rich and sufficient for the analysis later on.
Okay. Rich data is always needed for a qualitative research. However, sometimes due to various limitations, we lack or we are given the challenge of not having enough rich data. But I would say rich data should be considered being collected provided we consider having a good instrument. When we make a good instrument to collect data by checking our interview questionnaire, our focus group questionnaire with experts, they would find how large a room it could create for the people to answer. So having consideration for preparing the right type of your instrument, that your interview questionnaire, the right choice of words that you use, more to be open-ended. And also as a researcher, secondly, you work as an instrument by yourself. That means you need to do follow-up questions, which would also open up into the richness of data that you are looking for. Thirdly, it is going to be challenging when we give for member check. Many times we want to really get into the bottom line through which we could get more richness of data. But when they do the member check, sometimes, in my experience, most of the times they feel like, oh, I did not know that I have expressed so much. I think these are the areas I don't think I would love to have it for analysis or to bring it as an answer because I opened up much. Well, sometimes they realize it during member check. So we need to respect that. And so the richness lies there and it limits there too.
All right. So basically, it has to start with a good instrument, the right implementation and the data gathering.
Yes.
All right, Dr. Ranjit. And the coding process will come in later on. So anyway, moving forward, Dr. Ranjit, there's another question here asking for suggestions about the best approach for qualitative data analysis. What are your recommendations on this?
Well, the best approach is you as a researcher, when you are immersed in your study, it will guide you exactly what should be seen in your data. But I would say, even if it takes more amount of time for you to do the coding, to go through the transcript in detail, don't try to use shortcuts. I do not want to use this phrase here of using, computer-assisted softwares could easily help you run down your transcript into the working platform or working area of your limited codes or done whatever it is done. We completely rely on the logic in which the computer software has been made. Remember, these are softwares made by human beings, and the logics are limited to certain algorithms, which may have more, knowledge and wisdom put into it. However, it may not be everything that particular researcher is looking into that particular research.
All right. So even if there is now a lot of technology that can possibly help us in the analysis, still it is very important that the researcher himself or herself should be very knowledgeable on the things that they are doing in the research process. Correct, Dr. Ranjit?
Yeah.
So by that, then I believe it is also right to develop a lot of competencies. One way of that is to be part of the global organization on qualitative research, for example, like the website created by this organization. All right.
Sir?
Do you recommend our research enthusiasts for qualitative research that they should be engaged with organizations like this one, the Qualitative Research Connect, to develop more of themselves in the case of developing competencies to do research?
Okay, I strongly encourage all the qualitative research enthusiasts to not just be part of this program for the sake of attending it, but to take advantage of joining and becoming a member of it, which would help you for your lifelong learning process. And no individual is an expert of knowing everything. We continue to learn from each other. Even though you may be an expert in some area, but we are still learning from each other. So I would strongly encourage everyone to join platform like this, especially this platform where you have more of the qualitative research enthusiasts are here. And I believe strongly we will learn from each other.
All right. Going back into that softwares you mentioned earlier, Dr. Ranjit, you mentioned several softwares for data analysis. There's a question texted on me asking what language is acceptable in these qualitative data softwares?
Usually, it is limited to English. However, there are platforms they are still trying to develop. And in my knowledge, I'm limited to know up to that. But if there are, maybe I'm still willing to learn about its availability in different language. But as far as of my study, I found that it is limited to English only so far. But someone could help me from the audience if at all you have it in other language too.
All right, that would be great. We could connect more and develop further this technology. Thank you very much on that answer, Dr. Ranjit. There is a question here from Yeshua. Yeshua, is open code software less relevant for qualitative data analysis?
Okay. Now, when you talk about open coding, okay, why is it considered to be open coding? Yeah. Maybe the one who has asked that question is asking whether it is relevant or not to qualitative data analysis. Now, first of all, we have to understand coding in qualitative research is the data that you are looking at it as a qualitative researcher to understand what it says. And here, open coding is starting with familiarization with the data. And then further on, if you see, you are trying to assign codes, you are grouping codes, you are refining them and getting into the categories. Now, this is based on your overwhelming interest as a researcher onto that. Now, I would say open coding, yes, it is important to understand the data. However, to narrow it down to find a specific answer to your research questions, you further get into specific coding, okay, that would direct you or link towards certain categories and themes. But open codes are your codes that you are trying to just out of interest, your openness with the transcript, that you come up with that particular code over the data over here. Now, actually, even the open coding helps you to find some key themes. Okay. If you do not go into the second cycle of coding, that will take you in connection. There are 6 types of second cycle of coding, according to Johnny Saldana. Even though we have more than 30 types of open coding initially or axial coding, no, it will not take you or lead you to the specific category or theme that you are looking into. So therefore, it is important to consider open coding initially, but further on to be narrowing down.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Ranjit, for answering as many possible. I believe we don't have the luxury of time. Thank you all for raising your questions. We will hope that we could answer them in another platform. I'll give the virtual floor to Dr. Maria Laman for the closing remarks. Dr. Maria.
I'm Maria Lehman. I have the great privilege to be one of the many advisors of Qualitative Research Connect. I'm a professor of qualitative research methodology at the University of Northern Colorado in Colorado, the United States. My great thanks to Dr. Kingston Gladstone. This was a really rich and inspiring talk. Qualitative analysis is the #1 area I'm asked to consult on. This talk was full of information that allows attendees to leave with immediate, useful analysis strategies. Thank you. Dr. Safari, my great thanks to you for including me in this engaging webinar and in the international group Qualitative Research Connect. Your leadership in qualitative research is a star at the global level. Importantly, I want to thank all the attendees. We know you have so many competing demands for your time. Attention to qualitative research not only improves each of our personal research practices, but I'm convinced it improves our world. I have been keenly following the development of this website for qualitative research, and I encourage all the attendees, if you haven't been able to visit it, bookmark it, and share it with all your colleagues and students. I'm looking forward to the next webinar from Qualitative Research Connect, and I suggest everyone invite others to join, sign up for the webinar, and share it forward, asking them to share it on. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you very much, everyone. Let's give a round of applause to everyone who participated today. Thank you, thank you, thank you for coming, everyone. We are very, very glad that you came in. Thank you, Dr. Maria. Thank you, Dr. Genevieve, Dr. Gladstone, and Dr. Ramos. Thank you so much for everything that you have done today. Today was a historical moment. We are now the Qualitative Research Connect organization. So please join. We'll be in touch. We'll be contacting you and share the information with everyone. We'll see you in 3 weeks as we discuss qualitative data analysis using ChatGPT. So you should not miss that. And I know we'll run out of space again. But as soon as we send the registration form, please register. All right. Have a nice day, a nice evening, a nice afternoon, a nice morning, and Happy New Year, everyone. See you next time.